the contrary, it goes together. What we are saying in this conference is that we can no longer do business as usual, that we shouldn't be looking just at the numbers, at the GDP, that we have to really look at ways of creating a transformation in Africa, the structural transformation, and that is what is important. There's been many conferences in the past. Even this week here, we had a conference on climate change. We had another conference on Rio Plus. But this is the conference that brings together the economists to start thinking at the growth opportunities in the green growth.
Okay, now obviously you have policymakers here, you have intellectuals, academics, and at the same time you want to get some policy for the African continent going forward. I would like to know what are the opportunities for the green economy in Africa?
Well, you see, traditionally Africa has been recognized as an agricultural continent where people are striving every year, fighting drought and in some instances making some successes in areas like coffee, cocoa, and so on. We are essentially known as a natural resource continent. Okay, the transformation of that natural resources will call for innovation, will call for new ways of doing it, but it will also call for finance. That's why we have here representative of ministries of finance of 42 countries. Central banks are here. We have researchers from research institutions in Africa, partners of the research economic communities. This is really a unique opportunity and a unique gathering that we don't have. We have it once a year. This year the theme is on the green growth. It's going, in my view, to bring to the mind of the policymakers and the decision makers of Africa that green growth is an opportunity. It's not only a challenge, it's an opportunity.
Okay, let's look at some of those opportunities. Africa has the usual problems, unemployment, poverty, and so on. When we are growing our economies, naturally, we are going to have to industrialize. Now, the reason why I ask this is because when you industrialize, you have economic growth, you have jobs, you have opportunities. When we are moving towards a green economy, what will happen to our industrial policy?
No, that's what I said at the beginning. There's no contradiction. First of all, we need in our mind to start looking at Africa as a continent of opportunities, not only a continent of problems. If you look at the youth, you could see the youth today as a challenge, but you can also see the youth as a major source of the growth of the future. You look at Africa, Africa has most likely one of the growing middle class in the world. So, and that middle class is going to be consuming. So you need to produce, but you cannot be producing the same way we were producing before. So that will call for innovation, will call for new ways of doing business. Now, if you look at the financial crisis today, the North is struggling to find sources of financing. We are kind of seeing signs of recession and so on. Where's the growth going to come from? The growth is going to come from Africa. So if the growth is coming from Africa, there's going to be opportunities in accessing finance. And I think some of the discourse that we heard in the room today by the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, the President of AU Commission, and the Executive Secretary of ECA calls to that capacity for Africa to think differently and then move toward getting inclusive growth that will be a different type of growth that will be shared, so that we don't find ourselves in 25 years down the line with our economies that are still struggling, but at the same time divided into those who have and those who don't.
All right, final question. Obviously, we're moving towards COP17 at the end of the year.
Yes.
This is in a build up to that. What are some of the objectives going into COP17?
Well, I think there's a strong message from Africa for COP17 that we deserve to be taking advantage of many of the opportunities that are out there. It's not that it's a favor for Africa. It's not a favor. We are not part of necessarily of the problem in terms of green emission and carbon and so on, but we are part of the solution. So I think that's the #1 position for Africa. #2 position for Africa is that today we have opportunities that are important and that we want investors to come in, but come in a very innovative manner that we will then respect managing the environment in a very sustainable way. #3 is that we have opportunity for agriculture. But the type of agriculture that Africa is going to be moving toward is not only an agriculture that will be just a subsistence agriculture, but it will be an agriculture that will contribute to providing changes in the paradigm and the continuum and the shift. And I think that's how we're going to be seeing this. And of course, there's going to be the whole issue of financing and how do we address this. I think Africa is today, we are better off in terms of the thinking, and this conference is definitely going to be providing some additional options to that.